Welcome to Wednesday. It's the 29th day of December 2021. There is a lot of winter coming for not only the western United States, but really a lot of the United States as we go into the new year. While there is going to be a little bit of a break in the weather today, and I think today is a day that if you need to travel, I would take advantage of it because later today, tonight, and Thursday, the winds are going to really pick up, causing blowing snow problems along I-80 and I-70 and other western interstates and mountain passes, but at least Thursday will be briefly warmer. We're going to have travel problems through Sunday, even though the weather by Saturday and Sunday will be improving greatly. Blowing snow is going to be a real headache because there's more snow coming. We'll talk about that with an Arctic push coming in Friday and Saturday, especially Friday. There's going to be Arctic temperatures and snow, so we're going to have fresh snow on the ground, then the wind is going to kick in over the weekend. So we got lots of travel headaches. Just getting point A to point B, especially over the higher elevations. Now we have a break in the weather Sunday through Tuesday of next week before the next round of winter weather barrels in from the northwest. Here's today's weather chart. This very stagnant pattern of a high pressure ridge in the Gulf of Alaska and this trough in the west continues. Here's the next wave. Actually, there's two waves. This low here and this low here will kind of team up Friday to bring us the winter weather. This little guy right up here as well. Anywhere you see the blue and the green here, just assume that the air is quite a bit colder, especially in those blue areas. So this is today. Now this is tomorrow morning. A little bit more of a westerly flow briefly comes in. This is why we're going to get a Chinook in this part of the region right here, and that's going to make it a little bit warmer. However, dive bombing in from the northwest out of Vancouver Island and out of British Columbia is the next wave coming on in. And what this will do is this will bring a low through Idaho into western Wyoming by Friday afternoon, and this is going to spread moisture out ahead of it while Canadian air sneaks in underneath and comes upslope along and east of the Continental Divide. These patterns working together will produce a good amount of precipitation. This is the snowfall and rain forecast I'm showing you through Saturday. Now, this is the precipitation that you see on the map here. If you were to melt the snow and measure it, this is what it looks like. Of interest is the snow hole we've been talking about. It's going to get snow as there is going to be some winter weather moving in on New Year's Eve, Friday into Saturday morning, even down into the panhandles of Texas. And again, the heavy snows will continue to fall over the next 3.5 days in all of the Intermountain West. Look at Arizona and New Mexico. Look at Southern California into Idaho, Western Colorado, this whole region. And a lot of this, in fact, almost all of it, with the exception of the coastal areas of California, this is going to be almost all snow in many of the higher elevations. And there's your snowfall forecast. Very impressive. This is just through Saturday. And this is good to see. This is a double-edged sword. They really need the moisture here. Really need it badly. But the timing is bad. I-70, I-76, I-80. I-80 from Iowa all the way to California is just going to be a mess. I-25 in Colorado Friday into Saturday is going to be a problem. And as you can see, the mountains, the mountain passes just going to continue to get snowed on. If you were to focus in onto Colorado, this is noteworthy. You know, the front range of Colorado, as we know, from Colorado Springs to Fort Collins, just really has had almost no snow at all of any consequence, but that's going to change. You're going to ring in the new year in eastern Colorado with some snow. Again, this is needed precipitation, but it's going to cause travel problems. And then you can see the big snows falling in the mountains of Colorado, Wyoming, and New Mexico, and down into Arizona and into Utah with this system. This is focused in on Wyoming, and you can see the I-80 corridor is going to be a problem. New snow with wind, that's just a recipe for tons of problems. And I-25 is not going to be fun either as we get into Friday night, and early Saturday. As we go into the weekend, this is where we get a little bit of a respite. We see a deep low kind of pushing out to the west, the high pressure ridge. So this is going to shift things around briefly. So Sunday into Monday and Tuesday and part of Wednesday of next week, there is going to be a shot of milder Pacific air coming in. Now this is going to still be a windy pattern, but we're going to see a moderation in temperatures and a break in the snow temporarily. But this guy here is not going to stall. It's going to get pushed inland as we get to the middle of next week. Wanted to show you something really interesting. This report just came out here. The snow lab that they've had in the Sierras for a long time near Donner Pass has smashed its December record all the way back to 1970 with 194 inches of snow. And they're going to go, in fact, they're probably already at this because this was as of Monday, well over 2 inches of snow. So we're talking about a record amount of snow in the Sierra Nevada. Why is that so important? Well, when we talk about the water in the western United States, the last 2 years have been awful with snowpack in many parts of the West. And this is really newsworthy. This is a lot of water. This is great news for California and the Great Basin states. And this is really contrary to what a lot of folks thought this winter might be like when it comes to the mountain snowpack. Now, there's a lot of time to go, and we could see the snow get turned off, but at least we're way ahead of where we were last year. And if you were to look at the snowpack figures as of yesterday morning, anywhere you see green or blue colors, the snowpacks are doing really good. And you can see that there's a lot of areas here, and the green areas too, showing areas where it's 90 to 100% or more above average. Look at these totals here in the Sierras. Look at the snow piling up in the Cascades in the Sierra Nevada. Also, I've mentioned this earlier, we have had 3 reports of fatalities due to avalanches over the last week. We had a skier on Christmas Eve killed near Cameron Pass in Colorado from an avalanche. We had some fatalities in Idaho from an avalanche near Driggs, and in Washington State, some fatalities because of avalanches. And with all this snow, and this is a huge weekend for skiing, cross country and downhill, this is a huge weekend for snowmobiling in the West, be extremely careful. Avalanches are going to happen, and they're likely going to have to be triggered remotely in some areas for mitigation. Now, why is the snowpack off to a so much better start than a year ago? Well, the sea surface temperatures in the Pacific are similar, and they're not. And this has really had a big impact on the western states and parts of western Canada and Alaska so far this winter. These are the sea surface temperatures a year ago. And a year ago, as we all know, as we talk about in this podcast, we were in a La Nina. But the sea surface temperatures up here in the Gulf of Alaska were neutral to a little bit above average. We didn't have a cold pool, but look at what it is like this year. So La Nina is still there. But we have mentioned this earlier. These cold sea surface temperatures here next to warmer sea surface temperatures here has created a very strong temperature gradient and a very strong jet stream wind this winter, much stronger than last winter, at least early in the winter. And this is literally just driving in Pacific storms and moisture into the western United States. So the difference between this year and last year is up in the Gulf of Alaska and the northern and northwest Pacific. That has really been a huge factor over the last 2 or 3 weeks and will be in the coming weeks. This is the forecast for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Look at this big spoke of cold, moist air out in the eastern Pacific, a big spoke of extremely cold air out here northeast of Hudson Bay and over northeastern Canada. Look at the closeness of these black lines. So powerful, moist jet stream winds will dive into the Pacific Northwest and California again, and this is going to send a strong cold front through the Rockies and the high plains by Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So there's going to be a break in the mountain snow basically from Saturday afternoon probably through Monday and part of Tuesday, but then it comes right back on in again, and this drives in cold air. This is by the 14th of January. Notice, with the exception of Florida and almost all of Canada here into Mexico, temperatures are below the 30-year normals with some really cold air moving into the northern plain states in the northwest. The Pacific Northwest remains extremely cold relative to averages. Really cold air moving into the Corn Belt. Natural gas prices are up, and they're going to be going up here in the coming weeks. Notice warmer than average temperatures up here. This is exactly what happens when the USA gets cold. Relative to averages, when it warms up in the higher latitudes up here, that is driving the colder air from the higher latitudes in the polar regions and the Arctic Circle deeper into the continental United States. Bottom line, folks, there's a lot of winter weather coming in the weeks ahead, so be prepared. Have yourself a good Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll update you on this snow event that's going to affect many of you as we head into New Year's Eve Friday.